Alright, this video is about a new jet thickness sander that I just got to replace my old one. This one will do up to 36 inches wide. Now this is the one I've been using for years here. It was one of those Custa kits, and it's a real heavy duty 24-inch sander. And it works good, and it will tog off a lot of material and stuff, but it's just so big, takes up so much room, and it's real heavy to move around. And the problem is you have to have at least a 12-inch long board. You can't just feed short boards in here, and they'll come flying out at you if you try to feed anything less than a foot long. So that was a big problem with it. Plus I wanted to be able to go wider, and this did have a big 3 horsepower motor on it. So fast forward, before Thanksgiving, Jet had this sale with 15% off, and then my PayPal actually gave me another 5% off with my credit card. So I ordered one of these Jet sanders, and it arrived yesterday, and you can see it was really knocked off the crate. The crate was totally destroyed under it and stuff. Luckily once I got it all unwrapped, and there were only a couple dents in the boxes and one corner that got hit, it looked like, but it turned out everything was pretty good. So I used those forks on my tractor to bring it around and put it on the dolly to roll it in the shop. Start unpacking it here and putting it together. I'm just going to do a quick, run through of putting it together, but one box contained the stand here. And it's just basically 4 legs, some hardware, and a shelf, and a couple cross stretchers. So that was all packed well, no damage to that. And it turned out that the instructions for assembling the stand were actually in the main crate. So, I just kind of unpacked this, and on this stand it said Jet 1632. But it turns out that it's the same stand that's used on the 1836. So that, so that number there doesn't really mean anything. And then the main box was, a nice, really heavy box, all stapled together and stuff. And did have some plywood spreaders in there to keep it from getting crushed in and stuff, which I think really saved it when it got hit on that pallet. And the instructions were down there for putting the set together now. I grabbed the parts, started putting them together without really looking at the instructions, and that first leg I put on wrong. I actually assembled it on the inside when it should have been on the outside of the metal brackets. But anyhow, it's a real simple thing to put the stand together. There's just a couple bolts that have a carriage type head on them that lock in the square pockets in those brackets, and brackets actually are fairly heavy duty too. I was expecting something a little lighter duty, but it does make a nice sturdy sand when it's all put together. So I wound up having to take that one apart and put it on the outside you saw there, and now it's just a matter of getting the rest of the bolts in there. And I didn't tighten anything up at this point in time. I just kind of put everything together loose until I get the tray in there next. So everything went together good, lined up good, and no problem so far. And then that tray sits in there, and that really stiffens everything up. And the same thing, there's 2 bolts that go in each corner. So really, it really is fairly easy to assemble this machine in the end. And got them all done, and then I took it over and I set it up on my workbench where I know it's nice and flat. So when I tightened everything up, I knew the stand would be, good and square and flat. So it's just a matter of going through with a ratchet and, tightening down all the nuts in there. So that only took a couple of minutes to assemble, and it looked pretty good. About the only thing that I found was there's a couple of right there, some bubbles in the powder coat that I don't know if that's corrosion underneath or what, but I'll find out in the long run. Then I wanted wheels for it. Now Jet made wheels, but if you ordered them, it said that they wouldn't be delivered until the end of February at the checkout. So I I didn't order the jet wheels. I actually went on Amazon and I found a set of heavy-duty casters with a half 13 studs on them there that seemed to match the specs on the jet one. So I just bought a set of these on Amazon, and they actually were about 1/3 the price of the jet ones, or they were a lot less than the jet ones. And there was a little bit of rust down on the bottom corners. You can see where these stand legs were folded over and stuff. I got the wheels on the stand, and then I got out that nifty lift. I don't know if you've seen the video about it, but my right arm there, the shoulder's still kind of tender, but it's starting to heal now pretty good. So this lift really does make it easy. You can just kind of pick up stuff like this. I think it weighs about 150 pounds, and you can pick it up with one arm like that and not have to worry about putting any real pressure to try and pick something up with your back. So that made it easy to get out of the crate, and then it's just a matter of rolling the stand over underneath it there and put it in position. Now, when I ordered this, I did not order the side tables for it because I wanted it to be as small as possible so I could move it around my shop easily and use it in different locations. So what I do have coming is a collapsible conveyor that I'll do a video when that comes, but apparently they were back ordered from the manufacturer, so that's going to be a while till I get that. But the sander had some pieces of plywood on the bottom that really help protect it also and keep it from bouncing around. And when you remove them, you have to save the socket head cap screws that hold them in place, because the same screws that you'll be using to mount it to the stand. There are those 4 holes in the corner that line up with the 4-hole taps in the bottom of the sander. So really you can see there's about the only assembly on the stander is just to mount it to the base there once you get the base assembly. So it's really only about a half hour job to get this thing out of the box and put together. And then again, that nifty lift really comes in handy picking things up and moving things around. I just kind of got it located over the stand, and now it was time to try to slip that plastic bag off of it. And it was, well wrapped, and everything was protected good, so everything was in good shape in the end. And then it's time to remove the straps and get it bolted to the stand. You can see I had the main straps around that casting back there that really is strong and stuff, so I knew nothing would bend. And there it is. That's what it looks like. Real nice, small, and easy to assemble. So then it's just a matter of lining up the 4 bolts in the bottom. I had to lock the casters to keep it from moving around, and then just put the 4 socket head cap screws up from the bottom and tighten them with an Allen wrench, and it's all ready to go. Now, if you do buy the side tables that go with this, it looks like they bolt right on, but I decided I just didn't want anything that big in my shop. I'm trying to make room for more tools, and this is basically the final upgraded tools that I'll be doing. I've managed to move up to a little bit higher quality tools over the last couple of years. Now there you can see it came wrapped with, I think that's 80 grit sandpaper on there. So it's all ready to go, and really pretty rigid for the way it sticks out there and stuff. And nice little latch on the cover to hold it down there and stuff. So I rolled it over in the corner and decided I'm going to fire it up. And you have to turn on the motor, the drum, and then you have to turn on the belt. That's about the only thing that I really don't like about it, is that that belt motor doesn't come on when you turn on the motor. it's on, you have to adjust that individually. So it would be nice if they both came on at once, but just have to get used to turning that off when you turn off the other switch. So I took this piece of ash here and I just started running it through to, see what kind of a job it did and, see what was going on with it. And the one thing that I noticed right off is there was a couple inch, like 2.5 inches, maybe a snipe on the front edge as it goes through there. I'll show it to you in a second, but the back edge there, I wasn't really seeing any snipe, so it basically does a good job. It doesn't hog off as much material as my last one did, but it's plenty good for what I need. And you can run pieces like as short as, I think, about 5 inches through here, so I do a lot of little things that I wanted this for. So it really does run nice and smooth, and it's a lot quieter than my dust collector. You can hear it's really nice, quiet, smooth. So so far I'm happy, and there you can pretty much see the snipe on it. Well, I flipped that piece around so it's showing on both ends now, but one little bit of snipe on the end there. Now I looked in the manual. It said that it was supposed to come adjusted and not have that, and over time it could get sniped, but that wasn't the case here. So there are 4 screws that spring load with springs under them that adjust the pressure on the infeed and outfeed rollers. And instead of you're getting sniped on the leading edge there, to loosen up the pressure on the outfeed roller. So I did that. I just went really slow with it. I went 1/4 of a turn on each screw at a time, and I just kept running the board through, and looking at the results and see what it looked like after it ran through. And this did turn into probably about 45 minutes worth of adjustments and testing until I finally did get rid of all the snipe. But you have to, I just did a little bit at a time on those outfeed rollers, and then I still couldn't quite get rid of it, and at one point I had it a little bit cockeyed where it was on one side, not the other. So I did wind up having to take some couple adjustments on the infeed rollers and play with that back and forth. So that's what took me the time, but I think it was worth taking the time to get it set up, and you can see it's starting to get down there now. But still picking up just a little bit there. And it does work really nice. One thing I did notice, if you try to take too much off on this one, on the outside edge there, the sander can get a little bit jumpy, and you have to run it through twice, so you want to limit your cuts. And then I grabbed a piece of walnut just to play with, because I wanted something a little bit wider as I was getting it down. You can see I got it mostly gone on that one side there, but it was just a matter of the getting the feed rollers adjusted right. And there you can see it's about 2/3 of the way across that board. And you have to run on, the inside edge and the outside edge, and just keep moving it around, so you use the sandpaper in all the different areas. Then once I started getting the snipe under control, I went back and just measured the board on both sides to check the uniformity of the thickness. And it was adjusted from the factory. It was off by a couple thousandths on that wider board. And that's another real easy adjustment to make on this. I guess they make that easy to get at because you do that when you're doing wide boards and flipping them too. So that was just a matter of loosening those 2 thumb screws and then adjusting it a little bit. And I was actually able to get it, really close. And the other thing I found out was if you want a board to be perfect and really flat and stuff, you best to run it through twice. Do the first run through with it, cutting, and then don't readjust it and run it through twice, and everything will be perfectly flat. You can get a thousandth or two bounce in it, if you just run it once, I found out. But pretty much, I got it down, so, one more adjustment after that, I basically got rid of all the snipe on both ends, and, I'm real happy with it now, but it did take a while to get it adjusted upright, I will admit that. Then I had this little cherry cookie for a future project for one of my wife's things, and it's kind of warped, or it's kind of got one side on it that's about a 1/4 inch lower than the rest of it, so I got this idea I was going to try to sand this down flat. And there's a little red light on there over by the feed. You can see if you try to sand too much off, that red light comes on and the conveyor automatically slows down to a speed that is right for the sanding. So that works really good, I found out. And I just kept running this little cookie through, and I can only take off, I'm going to say, about a 64th at a time on it. Maybe a little bit more than that, but it's only 80 grit paper. If I throw some 36 grit on here, I should be able to take a lot more. But I just wanted to see how this would do on a short cookie like this, and I'm sure that would work on something that's down to about 5 inches. And there you can just take a look at it. I did finally get that cookie perfectly flat. And the sandpaper, and there's those 4 screws that you have to adjust. There's spring-loaded rollers, and there's a screw on each end of the in-feed and out-feed rollers there, and they're the ones that you tweak to get rid of all the snipe. And you just have to have patience. Just go really slow, a little bit at a time. And then that there does get rid of any taper right there very easily. Conveyor works good, and everything, seems to work good. The casters make it nice, and so you can roll it around. It's really nice and light, narrow, so it'll fit anywhere. And you can see after using it for about a half hour, 45 minutes, there's no real dust on it. The dust collection hood did a really good job on it. Real happy with that. And it did do after a bunch of passes, it did do a really nice job on this little cherry cookie. So I just wanted to, play with it and just try hogging something down and see how it worked. Now, about the only issue that I've noticed on it is it does take a weird width sandpaper. Now, I've got all these rolls of the 50 or 150 yard rolls of my sandpaper from my old sander. That's probably $250 worth of sandpaper right there. And you can see it's just 4 inches, and this takes about 85 millimeters, I think. So now I have to make a tool to be able to cut that down and make my own strips for it, but that shouldn't be too hard. And some nice little clips here to lock it in and out, so it looks like it'll be easy to change. So, it's a nice little sander, and here you can see I'm finally getting back to working on my CNC router. Finally today I felt like going out and standing in front of Bridgeport, and this little nifty lift really is handy. So pretty much, I replaced this old monster here with this, and I think it's going to be a great choice, and looks like it's going to fit my needs really good and allow me to do very short and thin pieces, and also do 36-inch wide tops and stuff like that. And it does not take up much room at all, so I'm real happy with it so far. Like I said, about the only thing would be nice if that conveyor and the other switch shut everything off. And that depth gauge is basically useless. Looking at the angle, you have to look at it at stuff. But I'll probably put a digital gauge on it eventually. I'm hoping this is as good as that last jet sander that I bought. I love that thing. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.